Welcome to Customer Service 101. This is Mommy Jacqui, and I'm very happy to have you on board. Let's start with module number 1 about you. This is Language Proficiency Pronunciation Part 2. Now let's move on to consonant sounds. Earlier, we've discussed the three main components of accent, and as I've said, pronunciation is one of those. So let's proceed with learning more about pronunciation. General American speech is composed of about 40 sounds. 23 of these are all consonants. We have two kinds of consonants, namely stopped and continuant. A stopped consonant sound is one that you cannot prolong. In American speech, there are 6 stop sounds. For example, p, t, t, k, and g. Example, for the word do, there's no way for you to prolong the D sound and say do. A continuant consonant sound, on the other hand, is a consonant in which we can prolong them at will. Examples are l, m, n, r, s, v, oo, x, y, and z. For example, for the word Mars, you can prolong 3 of these consonant sounds and say Mars. These are fairly easy to pronounce since the muscles controlling the mouth are relaxed and in their natural state. The lips and the tongue are the ones working extra hard for us to produce these sounds. Again, for those who are visual, this is a Venn diagram of the Filipino and English consonant sounds. Notice that we have some letters that are unique to the Filipino language and also the English language, and these are what we call your problematic consonants. So now, let's move on to problematic consonants. A Filipino speaker pronounces V and B the same and say, I have trouble with my vowels, instead of saying, I have trouble with my vowels, and say Filipino instead of Filipino. You need to differentiate between the 4 sounds of P, B, F, and V. The plosives B and P pop out, and the sibilants F and V slide out. F and V. B and V are voiced, F and P are unvoiced, B and V are the least related pair. Now you have to push your bottom lip with your finger so that it is outside your top teeth and make a sharp popping sound. Now don't worry, we'll get through each letter in a while. So now let's practice some words that start with letters F, V, and B. Now don't forget your vowel sounds that we have learned earlier, okay? So let's try this. We'll read it from left to right. I'll read it first, then it's your turn after, okay? So let's start with the first one. We say fat, vat, bat. Your turn. Next, face, vase, base. Next, fear, veer, beer. Okay, now let's try with 2 syllables this time. We say fairy, very, berry. Good. Now let's move on to the next one. We say effort, ever, ever. Next, we say foul, vowel, bowl. Very good. Now you can try practicing these words several times like a tongue twister again, so you'll get used to the sounds of the letter F, V, and B. Okay? Let's move on to the next. Now let's start differentiating the letters P and F, a common Filipino error. So the letter F, unfortunately, is non-existent in our native vocabularies. Filipinos have been exposed to the said letter during the American and Spanish colonial era. That's why we still find it difficult to pronounce the letter F and create the distinction between the letters P and F. Okay? To make the P sound P, have your two lips touch each other and then blow out some air. Okay, now take note of this. The teeth are apart but not shown. The tongue is in the middle of the mouth. Air is blown through quickly. Now make sure that the P sounds like a B, okay, but with air. So B doesn't have the air, P has air. That's why it's voiced versus unvoiced, okay? So let's practice some P sound with the following words. We say put, play, pie, peel, pray. Very good. Now you can practice this several times if you're having a hard time saying the sound of the letter P. Okay? Now this time, let's move on to a familiar tongue twister. And I think you know this, okay? So let's read it. And you can read it with me. Let's say, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Now, you can pause this video and try this tongue twister several times and try to go faster and faster each time, okay? Now, let's move on to the letter F. Now, to make the F sound, start by slightly opening your mouth. Your lips must not be touching. Then pull your lower jaw and lip back and slightly up so that your upper teeth gently touches your lower lip. Now look at the picture as a guide, okay? Touch your bottom lip to your top teeth and then gently release air from between your teeth and your lower lip. So you say, now, please take note of this. Do not start this sound with your mouth closed. Your lips cannot touch while making the sound. Do not put your upper teeth over the front of your lower lip. This is a common mistake, okay? And that would produce a different sound. Just make sure that the position is more relaxed than this. So this time, let's practice it with some words that have the F or the F sound, okay? Let's try this. Let's go. Fan, fail, foot, feel, pheasant. Great. Now you can practice again saying these F words so that you can practice the F sound, okay? Now it's tongue twister time with the letter F. So let's try this. Maybe you're having this for dinner or for lunch. Shall we say fresh fried fish, fish fresh fried. Fried fish fresh, fish fried fresh. Okay, now you can practice this several times so you can practice the letter F. Now, let's combine the letters P and F into a tongue twister this time and let's read it. We say, I'm not a pheasant plucker. I'm the pheasant plucker's son. And I'm only plucking pheasants until the pheasant pluckers come. Now try to do this faster and faster. Repeat it several times so you'll get used to switching from the letter F and the letter P. Still on problematic consonants, let's move on to the American T. The American T is influenced very strongly by intonation and its position in a word or a phrase. It can be a little tricky if you try to base your pronunciation on spelling alone. Yes, believe it or not, there are 4 basic rules and 4 pronunciations for the letter T. So first, T is T, just like what we know. And the other 3 would be T is D, T is silent, and T is held. Now let's discuss each one of them. Let's start with the first rule. Top of the staircase. T is T. Now, if the letter T is at the beginning of a word or the top of the staircase, it is a strong, clear T sound. For example, first one, in the beginning of a word, you say table, take, tomorrow, teach, 10, turn, Thomas tried 2 times. So it's a clear T sound. Number 2, with a stressed T and ST, TS, TR, CT, LT, and sometimes the NT combinations depending on the words. Okay? For example, you say, they control the contents. So see, the letters T and contents are very T. Okay? Next, in the past tense, D sounds like the letter T. So this time, it's the letter D that sounds like the letter T after an unvoiced consonant sound. So take note that it should be an unvoiced consonant sound, just like the letters F, K, P, S, CH, SH, TH, but not the letter T. Okay? For example, you say picked, hoped, raced, watched, washed. And in a sentence, you can try it and say, it took Tim 10 times to try the telephone. Can you try it? It took Tim 10 times to try the telephone. Very good. Rule number 2, middle of the staircase. T is D. If the letter T is in the middle of the word, intonation changes the sound to a soft D. Letter becomes or sounds like letter. Remember, it's a soft D, okay? So let's try to apply the T is D in these words. We say water, daughter, boughta, cotta, lot of, gotta, later, meeting, better, oughta. I know it sounds weird, but that's really how it should be, okay? So now let's practice these sentences and let's say, what a good idea. Put it in a bottle. Get a better water heater. Put all the data in the computer. Patty ought to write a better letter. I know it sounds funny, but you can try practicing it until you're more comfortable in sounding this way. Okay? Rule number 3, T is silent. The letters T and N are so close in the mouth that the T can disappear. And you probably hear this all the time with those call center agents. You say interview, international, advantage, percentage. I know it sounds weird again, but if you try to practice it several times, you'll be more comfortable with how it sounds. Now, if the T is at the end of a word, you almost don't hear it at all. So, for example, you say put, what, lot, sit, hot, sit, shot, brought, Kit Kat. That's quite right, isn't it? Okay, I know it sounds weird at the first part, okay? But if you try to say this several times, it will sound a lot better, okay? Rule number 4 this time. Bottom of the staircase when T is held. So, with tain, 10, and some TN combinations, the T is held. The held T is, strictly speaking, not really a T at all. Remember, T and N are very close in the mouth. If you have an N immediately after the letter T, you don't pop the letter T. The tongue is in the T position, but you release the air for the letter N and not the letter T. Make sure you don't put a schwa before the letter N. Okay? Now, this will sound a little bit weird for you, but if you try to listen to some films and other recordings in American accent, you will really hear them say it this way, okay? So, let's try it. Listen closely. You say written, certain, forgotten, sentence. I know it sounds weird, but you'll get used to it. So let's try to apply these in some sentences this time, okay? So you say, he's forgotten the carton of satin mittens. Next, you say, she's certain that he has written it. And you say, Martin has gotten a kitten. Okay, now I know it would sound a little bit funny at first, but when you try to practice it several times, you will sound a lot better, okay? Still on problematic consonants, let's move on to the TH sound. Just as with most of the other consonants, there are two types of TH sounds, voiced and unvoiced. The voiced TH sound is like a letter D, but instead of being in back of the teeth, it's 1/4 inch lower and forward between the teeth. However, the unvoiced TH is like a letter S between the teeth. Now, most people tend to replace the unvoiced TH with an S or a T and the voiced one with a Z or a D. So instead of saying thing, they say sing or ting. And instead of saying that, they say zat or that. Now, the most common word in the English language is the. After the schwa, TH would be the sound you would hear most often. If you touch your throat when making this sound, you will feel a tender vibration. Now, look at the picture as guides, okay? Now, try saying these. You say this, that, these, those, they, them, there, then. These are voiced TH sound that you can practice, okay? Now, how about this? Words that start with an unvoiced TH. So let's practice and let's say 3, thunder, thistle, thieves, threatening, thrifty, 1,000, 30, through, thrive. Now remember, when you have to say the TH sound, you have to use your tongue. To pronounce TH correctly, think of a snake's tongue. You don't want to take a big relaxed tongue and push it far between your teeth and just leave it out there. Keep the tip of your tongue very tense. It should dart out between your teeth and snap back very quickly. And you can try practicing the words that we have just read earlier if you're struggling with the TH sound. Let's have some practice sentences this time. You can pause this video and read these sentences over and over so you can practice the different vowel and consonant sounds along with the TH sound. Number 1. Thor is a god of thunder. Thelma and Theo have bad breath. 3 free, thrilling frills fought on Ruth's roof. Thieves are thankless thugs who deserve our wrath. Number 5. Nothing is worth 1,000 of that's. And number 6. Mr. Smith's teeth are thin and lethal. Number 7. Thursdays are thirsty days for lethargic Ruth and Thelma. Number 8. It seems themes are sought by thousands of mythical misses. Number 9. Thick ticks on 3 trees brought broth to 10 thin tin men. Number 10. Sick thickets thwarted 7 thin sinners from passing through. Now, that was quite tough, isn't it? Now, you can practice these words and these sentences over and over until you get more comfortable in saying these practice sentences. It's practice reading time, and I will read it first to you, then you can read it afterwards. Pause this video and repeat it as needed until you get more comfortable. Okay, let's start. There was a time when people really had a way with words. They said and did whatever they could so that each little thing would then be made good and clear, both at home and all over the world. They knew that it was very important to use a few short words because most of the long ones were too hard for them. The only other thing about words is the number of school children who are called names even if they know how to say something right, but can't find a way to use it in a sentence. By the way, many more families have been after their children to like school. Well, how about you? So again, you can pause this video, practice this paragraph over and over again until you get more comfortable. Now, for the Filipino S. In Filipino, an S always sounds like an S or S. In English, a final S sounds like the letter Z, Z, when it follows a voiced consonant or a vowel. For example, you say raise, runs, okay? The most common verbs in English end in the Z sound: is, was, does, has, etc. Now, double the preceding vowel and allow your vocal cords to vibrate. Now, I know it sounds a little bit weird for the first part, but when you get used to it, for sure you will sound a lot better. Now, let's proceed with the American L. This is not much of a problem with Filipinos, but it's worth taking note of. The American L has two different pronunciations in English. First, in the beginning or middle of a word, the tongue tip touches just between the lips and those hard ridges. In this position, the L shouldn't give you much trouble. The difficulty begins when the L is at the end of the word, because the letter L has a shorter, sharper pronunciation in other languages. This will carry over into English, where the whole word will just sound too short. Rule number 2 on the American L. At the end of a word, the letter L is especially noticeable if it is either missing or too short. You need to put a little schwa sound before the final L. For example, if you want to say the word ball, it will sound too short if you don't say ball. You may even need to add a tiny schwa at the end to finish off the letter L and say ball. One way to avoid the pronunciation difficulty of a final L, such as in call, is to make a liaison when the next word begins with a vowel. For example, if you want to say, I have to call on my friend, let the liaison do your work for you and say, I have to call on my friend. Now, don't worry about liaison because we'll discuss that after these lessons, okay? Now, when in doubt, you can check a dictionary and consult the IPA chart, or the International Phonetic Alphabet. It is a standardized system of phonetic symbols devised and maintained by the International Phonetic Association. This is usually used by the different dictionaries when they give you the pronunciation of certain words. So, how are you doing so far? I hope you learned a lot from our lesson on consonant sounds. Now, don't forget to combine what you have learned in this lesson with our lesson on vowel sounds. And last tip, I've got two words for you: conscious effort. Make sure to always have conscious effort moving forward so you will really be able to learn and maximize what you have learned in these two lessons of vowel and consonant sounds. With that, I hope you will continue practicing. Maraming salamat and thank you for watching this video. Move on to the next. Bye!